I wish the story was still untold. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Think About It Reviews, and we are reviewing Dracula Untold. It is directed by Gary Shore, starring Luke Evans. You know him from the Hobbit trilogy and Fast 6. He played the bad guy. Let's get right into this film because you know what? You're going to go in this film, you're going to watch it, and then you're going to come out and you're going to forget it because this movie is very forgettable. It is. It's very forgettable. So basically, the story is just about Dracula himself, Dracula the Impaler. He's trying to protect his village, trying to protect his family from the Turks that he had a past relationship with, and he stumbles upon a cave that has the first vampire living inside of it. And then, of course, there's this whole story about why he's there. Well, Dracula basically stumbles upon this cave. He gains power from that first vampire to protect his family and the village to fight off the Turks. That's basically the main plot of it. That's the main point. And this movie is so uninteresting. There's nothing really special about it. It's dull. It's kind of boring. The only thing that's going for it is the set design and the location. That's it. Those are the two. This armory and everything, the way it looks great. The movie looks good. Some of the CGI, of course, seems a little fake, but all in all, it looked great. The acting was so-so. It was fine. Luke Evans, he was okay. He was all right for what was given to him. He doesn't have much to work with. This is supposed to be Dracula. You're supposed to fear him. This is supposed to be Dracula the Impaler. And if you know anything about the true story of Dracula and when the Impaler, you know he was a bad guy. Many people feared him. And in this film, like many people say, you know, this is the guy who you fear, but you don't fear Dracula at all in this film. They try to make him I want to say an anti-hero because, you know, he did used to do that. They used some of the facts of his true story in here and try to make a monster movie / action movie that just doesn't work. I mean, if you're going to go one way, I'd rather have you just actually tell us the true story of Dracula the Impaler, because that's more interesting than what this movie has to offer. This movie doesn't really offer anything. The characters we meet, you don't really get to know them. You don't care about them. You don't care what happens to them. And throughout this film, I'm just going, okay, you're done. I don't really care what happened to you. You didn't really do very much. I mean, am I supposed to feel sad? Because I don't feel sad because I didn't feel anything. They didn't give us anything. They didn't let us know who these characters are, especially the villain. The villain is supposed to be there to really, you know, conflict Dracula. Like this is who we're supposed to just really hate because Dracula in this film is not that great of a person as well. But the villain was just nothing. He didn't bring anything to the table. I don't know who he was. We're supposed to, I guess Dracula had a relationship with this guy, but it never shows it. It never really, we're just told that they had a relationship, that they're like brothers. But I didn't feel it. I didn't care for it on the screen. So none of the characters really work. They're dull. They're uninteresting. And whatever happened to him really just happened to him. And Dracula himself, some of the things in this film, that his powers and stuff, just it was okay. Like either you're gonna go along with it or you're not. If you don't, then you're just gonna think it's kind of funny how, you know, he could turn into bats and then come back and reform into himself. All in all, but there were a couple parts in this film that I actually enjoyed, especially when that first encounter that he has with the first vampire, the wittiness, the back and forth, and just the atmosphere was really well done. But that's one of the few things that I actually liked about it, because I don't know, the director did an okay job directing, and, you know, his shots were okay until we get to the fighting, the melee, Dracula versus the army. I don't know what, the lighting was just way too dark. I couldn't tell who was the bad guy, who was the good guy. It was just it was way too dark. I just couldn't see really anything. And what made matters worse was there was a little bit of shaky cam. There was a little bit, the camera was just going everywhere. You couldn't, and the camera was just way too close. It couldn't just widen up a little bit so we could see some of the action going. All in all, this film, going into it, at first I was a little bit, in the beginning I was a little bit bored, and then, he goes and sees Dracula, the first vampire. Dracula goes sees the first vampire. That got a little bit interesting, but throughout the film, it was just boring. The family I didn't really care for. His relationship with the family, they didn't really establish anything like why did the wife love him, like the love story. Why were these two so much in love? They didn't really establish anything. They didn't really. There's nothing for me to see why these two loved each other so much. But all in all, like I said, if you want to go see another movie, another franchise, go watch Underworld, because that's what kind of reminded me of was Underworld. Just Underworld had a little bit something more going on. Kate Beckinsale and lichens and stuff. This movie just doesn't have that much going on. It wasn't scary. It wasn't really entertaining. But hey, if you guys are thinking about it, of course you're gonna go watch it. If I had to recommend or non-recommend this movie, I can't recommend this to you guys, man. I can't recommend this movie. It's just there's nothing going on. And the movie feels long just because of that. Just because nothing really happens, or when it does happen, it's just not very entertaining, or we don't care about the characters. So I can't recommend this movie to you guys. Go watch something else. I recommend, maybe if you want something with vampires and action, maybe go watch Underworld. If you want something more, if you're like a true horror fan who really likes the vampire mythology and stuff, then just go back and watch Interview with the Vampire and how great that film was, and how great the performances and the characters were in that film. So other than that, I know you guys probably sitting down, if you're looking at the trailer, you're thinking about it. I got to tell you, I don't recommend this film. But all in all, that's my review on Dracula Untold. So grab a tick, grab a seat. Hopefully you got some good popcorn to eat. See you at the cinema.